So in this week's crypto recap, we're going to be covering one of the biggest developments in computing since the invention of the computer and how that could possibly affect the Bitcoin/cryptocurrency world. And then also the further integration of blockchain into the financial sector and in different ways that blockchain is going to be changing our lives, not necessarily on the surface, but in the infrastructure of our world. We are joined once again by Monday Morning's crypto expert, Dave Zeiler. Thank you for being here, Dave.
Good to be here.
So let's start with the big stuff, the fun, flashy stuff. Google is out with a quantum computer. What is going on with that, and how does it apply to cryptocurrencies?
Well, a quantum computer, for a long time, it was a theory. Google has succeeded now in making something that functions, which is a big breakthrough for them. And the thing about quantum computing is that it's immensely more powerful than anything that we've ever seen before in the computing world. As an example, they said they ran a calculation. It took this quantum computer 3 minutes and 20 seconds to execute it. It would take the world's most powerful supercomputer 10,000 years to do that same calculation. That's the scale that we're talking about here. And so this is why, connecting it back to cryptocurrency, is that there's always been a little bit of a fear about the dawn of the quantum computing age because they're so powerful that they can break the cryptography that makes the cryptocurrency secure, including Bitcoins. And so there's long been a concern that when these things came along that it's going to be the end of cryptocurrencies. But in fact, it's really not that big of a deal, even though this caused a bit of a stir in the crypto world. Most people realize that it's not a real problem yet. And one of the big reasons for that is that, first of all, Google's project is still very experimental. It's unstable. It's really not ready for prime time. And so, we're going to have a long time before this thing is actually capable of, actually breaking any kind of crypto. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that because there's going to be a span of time before this becomes a real threat to be worried about, is that the people who, the developers who work on Bitcoin and the developers of all the other cryptocurrencies that rely on this, they'll have time to figure out new algorithms that would be quantum resistant. And while it seems hard to believe that this could be done, they've done it with the ASICs that were designed that people use to mine Bitcoin. A lot of these other developers of other cryptos came up with algorithms that were resistant to the ASICs. So I believe it's possible. They think it's possible. People really aren't all that worried about it, the experts in the know.
Yeah. All right. So kind of pivoting to some blockchain news, I believe this week Morningstar announced that they're looking at using a blockchain related to Ethereum's blockchain to help with some of their credit rating systems. And they're obviously famous for their ratings of various stocks and debt and all that kind of stuff. So how are they starting to incorporate blockchain into their business?
Yeah, Morningstar is one of the biggest names in the financial world. And what they're doing is they're using the blockchain as part of their credit rating system. They're going to build it into it. And they're working with a lot of these crypto startups that up until now have kind of worked in the shadows. They're very small, but they've been working on these projects to make this happen. And they're going to have tokens that will be linked to the debt. And of course, what this is going to do is ultimately, when this comes to fruition, it's going to link, there's a $117 trillion of debt instruments out there that could theoretically be put into this kind of blockchain-based system. And it's just going to make the whole thing more efficient, and it's going to change how people, get the ratings and how they, buy and sell the debt. It's going to have big implications down the road.
Okay. So just to kind of dig a little deeper on this, are there any just kind of superficial changes that this will cause that people actually notice, or is this more infrastructure, nuts and bolts kind of work?
Yeah, it's not something that even a lot of the traders will notice that much, but it changes how it's being done behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very much a nuts and bolts kind of a thing. It makes things more efficient, but the fact that it's going to change the nature of it because it's going to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
And that is going to have big implications as we go along.
All right. Well, thanks so much for kind of shedding some light on the quantum computing work and then also the development or the inclusion of blockchain into the financial sector a little bit more. We'll catch you next week.
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.